Yeah, it shouldn't be like in tourism. It's like tax the tourists. You know what I mean?
That's nice.
That's all it is.
Tax the right tourists.
Yeah.
Not me though.
Not me though.
Cool.
Well, I mean, you know, you can pass for Hawaiian.
I know. That's why I'm like, don't tax me, dude.
Just like in Turkey, it's like if you look it, you are.
Yeah.
All right, we've mentioned this a couple times, but I think it's best to focus on this topic solely. And I want to know, obviously, what you think, Joe, about Hawaii. What do you think of the Hawaiians that want to end tourism?
Oh, that's a tough one, man.
It is tough.
Because right now, okay, so for people that don't know, the way Hawaii became a state is a really weird, ugly history.
It's messed up, yeah.
Because Hawaii was a kingdom, a sovereign nation that was recognized by a lot of like European nations in the US. And then the US was doing business with the Kingdom of Hawaii. A lot of rich like farmers and plantation owners in the West Coast, they went over there and they started doing sugarcane, pineapple, and they built a whole industry out there. And then so the way that they actually took Hawaii from the royals is they conspired to basically create like a military coup by calling the US government over and saying, oh, we're in trouble, something, something. And then they went in and then they basically took the kingdom and made it a US territory.
Against the will of the people.
Yeah, and so the way that it was done, it was like an illegal overthrow. It wasn't, so if you look at it by today's standards, it wouldn't fit well with the UN and like their policy.
It would be a sanctioned move.
It wouldn't. Yeah. And that's why I think it was Bill Clinton or one of the recent presidents made a formal apology and a statement, and they recognized that it was not kosher the way that it was obtained. Yeah. So that's why there's sentiment there between the residents of how they feel about should it be a sovereign nation or should it still be a part of the US. And then so I think for us, like on the mainland, we just think all states are states. But then out there's that sentiment between the native population and possibly like longtime residents. And I know the feelings of both. Like one of my Bible teachers at my church, she's born and raised in Hawaii, has ties to like plantation kids that worked in the fields and all that. And for her, she was excited that Hawaii became a US state. Whereas certain native sentiments, they're like, no, this is like absolute defeat that we became a US state. Right. So that's the whole feeling, right? Fast forward to today, now you have so much conflict between how Hawaii, what status Hawaii should be, right? Some people believe we should go back to a Hawaiian like sovereign
and
kingdom
secede
or
from the
whatever.
US.
They should secede. Wow. But the native population is less than like 6%. So that's another thing too, right? So like the demographic there isn't big enough to hold majority vote. So they'll never actually be able to do it legally.
Yeah. Interesting.
And then also there's so many different groups within the sovereign Hawaii, like within the native cultural groups, right? There's different ideas of how to handle it. And I watched a PBS episode where they brought all these different leaders of, Hawaiian ancestry groups, and they couldn't agree on how to move forward. Some people were like, we should be our own country because it was already illegal from the start. So don't participate, don't vote, don't do any of that stuff because that recognizes that we are a part of the US.
Oh, because you're participating in the democratic politics. Okay.
They're like, it's already wrong to begin with. The other part, she was saying, no, we're already like practically we're here. Like there's no freaking way that we're gonna go back. to becoming our own nation. The US military is here, everything is here. We get so much federal aid. And she goes, the best route for us is actually to try and get indigenous status, and then we can get more funding and more help from the government, right? And then I think another person was talking about how they're like, no, I think what we need to do is own the land privately. So if we could privately own the land as a group, then we can control it regardless of what nation is here. So I'm like, they had a lot of legitimate like philosophies or like methods on how to go forward. Yeah. But I think that's the difficult part, is like you don't have one group with one solidarity, like one idea. And so I think it's like a difficult journey for the native Hawaiian, figuring out how to like get their house in order and what mission they want to do.
So out of those three things that you mentioned, that they're like these three factions want.
There's more than three, but that's who was invited to the PBS debate.
Out of all of those, do any of those, the average person that's in Hawaii that is saying stop all tourism, does that help any one of those agendas to just stop it?
They didn't really address that, but right now, after the fire in Lahaina, a lot of people were hurt, so they didn't want anyone to come and just like have a fun time. Yeah. It all started because this snorkeling group was, they had a snorkeling trip in the same waters less than 24 hours ago. People drowned and died escaping from the fires. Crazy. It's wild. And then they posted on Instagram saying, oh, we were just trying to do a fundraiser and we were
they responded?
Yeah.
The people that were snorkeling?
Yeah, they're like, sorry, like we just wanted to do that as a way to like give, and everyone's like, you're fucking full of shit.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was interesting. And then so we had like Hawaiian music artists, we had Jason Momoa, we had all those people announcing like, hey guys, don't visit Hawaii right now, they're hurt, like how dare you like have your weddings and celebrate and do all this stuff while they're in pain. Yeah. Then a couple of days after, local native Hawaiian and also like just local people that live on Maui, they're like, why are you guys saying this? Like, you guys are celebrities and rich and you can fucking pay for all of this stuff. You're not tied to the industry. He goes, I do like sightseeing trips. That's all we, and we have 20 employees and none of them can work right now. Right. Or like I have a small little family owned hotel, or like I have a little restaurant that relies on this and we're like passed on bills. Yeah. And then they're like, we need this tourism to stay here in our community. So there's like conflict there too. There's no clear sentiment of like what should happen.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, so being that whole fire that had just happened and stuff like that, and them not getting any like support whatsoever, do you think that kind of plays a role into why they're being so like, hey, we don't want to be a part of the States, you guys can't even support us, you can't even support your own, you go here and support Ukraine, but you can't support us, so like what's the benefit?
I think that further proves like why the federal government fails Hawaii. Like the locals there they were way quicker to, like they said FEMA and Red Cross and all that was there, but everybody there knows that who made the biggest impact were the locals that were like, oh, these people haven't eaten in like 2 days. But there's like all this government red tape, right? Because they probably have to look at where is this coming from? Is it safe? Can we pass it out? Whereas the locals there were like, are you gonna block the roads? All of us are gonna get our boats, load up all the stuff, and then people are gonna meet us there, pass it out, and then they were feeding them.
Some people on jet skis with a bunch of supplies.
And then I think when people are quicker to do that, then they're like, we don't need you guys.
Because the bureaucracy is slower.
Yeah, dude, I think that's a big thing. Like, so I was looking into this, right? Because I was like, yeah, why don't they just fight the government harder? Or like, how come it is the way that it is? And then so Hawaii's like the lowest 5 states that do voter like participation. Oh. So a lot of people aren't participating.
They're like apathetic about politics?
No, I think like, so they call it the plantation mentality out there, where like the way Hawaii culture, like after the native, right? The way that it that it, I guess, evolved, or what it is today, is it's the plantations that developed the community there. So rich plantation owner, and some of them are descendants of missionaries, of all these like sugar and pineapple, like CNH and Dole, big ass names, right? They brought over a lot of different cultures to work on their plantation. Filipino, Japanese, Portuguese, Mexican, and then that's where they created the society, where like the current Hawaii culture is like based on little bit of native, little bit of Asian, little bit of whatever, right? It's the most mixed state of mixed background ethnicity with multicultural, like most people out there that are local, they're like over 3-4 mixes. And then they might be the majority actually. They're like 30% or something like that. So they have their like, I think that's why the state identity is so strong in my opinion, where they don't connect with the mainland in that sense. So like whether you're like Japanese or Chinese or whatever, everybody identifies as like a Hawaii local first before an American. So I think there's that, and then there's also the native population who's like, they identify as like Hawaii native. But yeah, I think that's why there's all these nuance like groups, you know, that like and I think those things are more important than like American or US government. And then the things that they celebrate too, like it's different. Like they don't go hard on Thanksgiving. They don't go hard on like 4th of July, like it wasn't even that big. Whereas like on the mainland, like in California, the biggest supporters of 4th of July is Mexicans. You know what I mean? Like I think it's just a different mentality where they're not fully like hardcore, we're US.
Yeah. So do you think when I mean, not just Hawaiians, but just people are outside looking in, telling everyone to stop going to Hawaii, stop tourism, doesn't it seem like something else should happen after that? There should be a plan before you just stop tourism. Like, what would be the best case if tourism were to end for Hawaiians that want sovereignty?
Yeah, me and my buddies all like that live there, we talk about this a lot actually, because like, so they say that they replaced like the plantation with tourism, right? So the big money makers used to be, they're all gone. They all sent like sugar plantations and pineapple to the South America. And yeah, and just less than I think 5 years ago, CNH, they produced a lot of the sugarcane in Maui. They left, which is also why there's a lot of fires, because when their fields were not maintained anymore, all these tall grassy fields, and it's kind of similar to California where it's dry.
Yeah.
And then every summer there's like always like brush fires. So that's also another way too, because they didn't do good land management after they left. And then to supplement the income, now tourism is thriving, right? Or like land development and you know, whatever. So like once you have a dependency on a certain amount of income, then you have to replace it some other way, right? And then so we're like, how can the state probably be self-sustaining if they want to have less tourism? Because now people know about Hawaii. You're not gonna, But what they possibly can do is look at island nations that became successful, and I look at Singapore, or you know, I would look at even Israel. They're not an island nation, but they're like a small group that can make a big impact. So like, what can the state of Hawaii do? And I think tech is one, because you don't need resources for tech. You just need a lot of people focusing on and with work from home, you know, like remote work, you could do a lot of coding, you could do a lot of things like related to that. Finance. I think like there's about 500,000 I guess people with native Hawaiian like ancestry. So if you start a fund as a group, everybody puts in $1,000 or something, you already got a native fund right there that you can start purchasing things and, you know, investing. So I think like if you can figure out more methods of making income, it will probably supplement. But you can't, if you have a beautiful place, you can't have people not come. They're gonna want to come.
Yeah, that's the hard part. I don't think
Yeah.
you can like end tourism. Like your blessing is your curse in that sense, right? Like
Right.
no matter what, like Hawaii is fucking beautiful. It's
Magic.
like island paradise, magic vibes, all that
You
stuff.
got a lot of money coming in for that.
Yeah.
You know, for the same reason why sometimes like people like hate LA and you still come in and you're like, fuck, the weather's great or the beaches or whatever.
Right, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like people are gonna come.
Yeah.
And we're not like a tourist state, but we still have so many people come all the time, right? So, I mean, I don't think you could stop it. I think managing it or like managing the expectations of everybody or figuring out how to like better preserve the island, like sure, there's maybe progress that can be made, but I don't think they can like end tourism.
That makes sense. I feel like that is
Maybe
a
have
good,
like restrictions, like how like for China you have to have like a visa to go there or something like that.
Oh,
Sure.
Yeah, I think that might be a good way is like controlling.
curbing it a little bit.
Yeah, because like, so Oahu, which is the island I'm on, you see a lot of skyscrapers. So it feels like, you know, a city on a little island. But if you go to all the other ones, you don't really see that many tall hotels, and it's because they have city ordinances where you can't build,
Can't develop that.
and you have to have a visual to the water, or like they have these
Right,
rules.
the zoning.
And some people might be like, oh, that's too controlling, but I'm like, no, that's kind of good because there's such small resources, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Or it's also like, you know, raising prices is like a way to like, you know, curb that as well. It's like every single year when more people or when inflation changes, what do they do at like Disneyland? They like raise the prices. You know what I mean? They raise it just enough to make it so that their capacity always kind of stays the same.
Right. It's like a strategic amount every time.
As much as it in one sense sucks, it's like, well, you're limiting certain people's ability to get there. So you're managing the population density of that tourism, you know?
And aside for that, there's things called like Priced Out of Paradise. You know, E.M. Tongi, the guy that just won American Idol. So he used to live in this area called Kahuku, and him and his family had to move out. And this is a huge thing where like they call Las Vegas the ninth island because a lot of local people from Hawaii have to they can't afford it. It's stupid expensive because it's like you're basically having to pay Silicon Valley prices for homes, but your income is like basically all working class service jobs, right? So then how do you even afford $1 million home? It's more expensive than here in LA. And on top of that, it's not just the home prices, it's everything. So like groceries, going to Walmart, everything.
Right.
At least in LA, like it might be expensive housing, but you can find discount food. You can find things
shop
that are
for goods and
affordable.
services. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So your money can stretch, right? Whereas like Hawaii, you're kind of screwed. It's just they don't have a lot of things.
Get what you get. Yeah.
And that's also what the hotel industry and just people in general are facing. Like when you don't have a working class, who's gonna work those jobs?
Right.
Because now all you have a bunch of retired dentists that are taking up your neighborhood. They're not working.
They're not working. Yeah.
They have a ton of money to maybe invest. So like
And the
they
working
might-
class has nowhere to live.
Exactly. And then you have all these empty celebrity homes, right? So like they drive up the value, and it's an island. And when you do comps, like comparisons for real estate, the way that it works is you see how much these homes sold in your area. But because it's an island and everything is so small, you might be next to a $20 million house.
So that's affecting your
Yeah.
real estate.
That's why you have a 700 square foot shack for $2 million.
Yeah. Right. Damn.
That was built in 1930, and it's like got roaches all over.
That's how that
That's
happens.
ridiculous.
That's so hard, man.
I guess the interesting response to when people are saying end tourism is and replace it with what?
Right.
Well, I think a lot of people that are angry, they don't really have a grasp on the economy, cause and effect on, you know, everything, right? They're just thinking like, fuck these people coming in, having a good time when we're hurt. stop it, right?
I think it's just a lot of emotions going on.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people in any circumstance, they focus on the problem, but very few present any kind of solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't blame them because they don't.
And it's hard.
They don't know. Like, are they economists? Like, are they city officials? Like, do they see things from top down? Like, they might just be just working, and then one day all their family members just lose shit, and they're like seeing people having fun, and then they're like, "Why are you here?" You know, like I get it. It's a lot of misdirected anger, but I think everyone's mad at the wrong things.
Yeah, that is interesting when you bring in the fact that their own local government fails them and there's so much corruption.
And then they're mad at tourists.
And then they're mad at tourists. Yeah.
It's like, what?
Like, bro, we just come here.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, hey, if I was working in that Crow government, I would be like, yeah, be mad at the tourists.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, focus on them.
Yeah, no one's really. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's a hard thing to answer because it all kind of does make sense and it all doesn't.
Right.
Like, I can get with the people that are like, fuck the tourists, because I'm like, yeah, that does make
to
sense.
a degree, it is.
Because they don't care about, they literally don't care. That's why they're here.
Yeah.
But it's and also.
Yeah,
Right.
and also.
Yeah, it shouldn't be like in tourism. It's like tax the tourists. You know what I mean?
That's nice.
That's all it is.
Tax the right tourists.
Yeah.
Not me, though.
Not me though.
Cool.
I mean, you know, you can pass for Hawaiian.
I know. That's why I'm like, don't tax me, dude.
Just like in Turkey, it's like if you look it, you are.
Yeah.